Figure it out!
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with FigureItOut Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Okay guys, the NES, the most fickle of all cartridge systems ever designed, at least major ones, with its idiotic 72-pin front-load design, NESs are notorious for not working. Now this one here, this one works. First try, every time. This system is in great shape. You guys have seen videos where I've cleaned up NES systems. They take a lot of effort to clean up, but really it's that 72-pin connector back there. You see that? That wears out, and you need to clean that to keep these things working. However, sometimes you run into an NES like this one, and if you'll allow me a moment here while I plug in these video cables. Okay, alright. This NES here, which is now hooked up, this is an NES that my girlfriend got me, and its 72-pin connector does not work well. Okay, put in the cartridge, alright, put it down, turn it on, and you get that. Yeah, that's not good. Other times you get, random, we can try this again here, I'll put this in again, put it down, turn it on. You get different combinations of weird, it's like you can see Mario there, but, yeah, look up in the corner right there. Yeah, this NES is all kinds of messed up. So, I've cleaned the contacts a lot. I've done a lot of work to it to try and restore it. Everything I've done with other NES systems in the past. Ultimately, sometimes cleaning it, sadly, is not enough. So you have two options. Back there you can see the 72-pin connector. I could take that out and I could attempt to straighten all the pins, and that would probably make it work again. Or alternatively, you could buy a replacement 72-pin connector, which I've done right here. These cost about $5, that's what I got this for. And so today I'm going to show you how to install one of these and get these old NES systems that are beyond cleaning to work again. Okay, so to get into our NES we need a Phillips screwdriver. And there are 6 screw ports on this thing. One here, one here, one here, one here, one there, and one there. So just go ahead and remove those, and then we will take off the lid. Again, once the screws are out, the lid just comes right up and off. Now, normally there would be a metal RF shield here, but this NES, whoever owned it before my girlfriend did, they seem to try to get to the 72-pin connector, try and clean it, and in the process they removed the RF shield and apparently lost it. So on the RF shield, if you have it there, which most likely you do, there's going to be screws all around the sides of it. Take them off and then remove the RF shield and you'll see this underneath. So once you've done that, and you're at this point, what you're going to want to do is remove the loading tray. Now there's 6 screws holding that together. 2 right here on the sides, and then 2 on the back there, and 2 on the back there. You'll notice that one here and one here are both silver. They're longer screws and they need to go back in those specific places. So go ahead and remove those, and then we'll take the loading tray off. So you're just going to pop it up and out, and there you go. You are now at the 72-pin connector. Now, you'll also see 2 extra screws right there, one right here and right there, that are by the RF/AV area. You have to remove those. You can actually use the AV ports to kind of push up on the board, and that's exactly what you're going to want to do. And you'll kind of want to lift this RF shield off a little bit and just kind of get it out of the way. Just be careful of those cables there. You don't want to obviously tear anything. And there, now it's out of the way. Now what you're going to want to do is remove the 72-pin connector. That's what this thing is, this black piece of plastic that's attached to this, the infamous 72-pin connector. Now a reminder, don't do this unless you've tried everything else. If you've cleaned it and it still doesn't work, then that's when it's time to do this. But okay, now let's move on. We'll go ahead and pull back on this, which is easier. There you go. Comes right off. So there's our 72-pin connector, the source of all of our problems. And we're going to replace it with this one, the one that I just bought. Now, I don't know exactly who makes these, probably Chinese companies, honestly, or if they just refurbish old ones. Basically, the problem that occurs with the NES because of its stupid front-load design is when you put a cartridge in, it connects right here, and then you have to push down and that forces the pins to get pushed down over time, especially on long games, or if, for example, you're playing a game like Zelda or something, like The Legend of Zelda, and you play that for a really long time, it's going to cause the pins to bend. If you turned off your NES and just left cartridges in there, that causes them to bend. There's a few methods to prevent it from bending, which I'll talk about in a little while. But once we have the new one in there. But what you could do if you want, other than cleaning it, because if you clean like the living hell out of it, like I did to this one, and it still doesn't really work, you could try to bend those pins back yourself with like a paper clip, but that's a massive pain in the ass. That would be like, what, 144 pins to bend back, because you have to bend those 72 down there, and then you have to bend, there's another 72 up there, and those are a lot harder. These are easier to get to, the ones you can see. The ones you can't see back there, there's another 72 there, and you'd have to bend those, so that's not good. So you may want to just go ahead and change it with a new one. Someone who either new ones that have been built, or perhaps they had people bend them themselves. I don't really know. But yeah, that's why you go ahead and do that. So just go ahead, take it, and put it on the exact same way, just like this. Put it in, and there we go. Now we take it and we put this over like that, which is a little bit easier said than done. Okay, so our new 72-pin connector is in there, and it looks like it's in better shape, which would make sense if it's brand new. Also, I put in the loading tray already. This was a bitch to get in. I'm not really sure why. It shouldn't have been. It should just slide right in, but it didn't. It actually took a lot of fidgeting, so I guess that's a note. Be careful when you do that. I don't know, maybe that was just me, one specific incident. I'm not sure. But yeah, I had a bit of a problem getting it in there, but it is in there now, so whatever. So if you have your RF shield, which obviously this one doesn't, you'd put that on and screw that in addition to the screws there, and don't forget your screws on the side. And again, the silver ones are the bottom ones here, right there and right there, so do that. So once you've got all your screws in place, and presumably your RF shield as well, what you're going to do is you're going to take your lid and you're just going to put that on top and then screw it into the various points. Now I've got the NES all set up here, and we're going to take our game and we're going to pop it on in, and it takes a little bit more force than it did before. Now you got to push the cartridge down, turn it on, and there we go. Game works, which is awesome. Now as great as that is, God, that's also really hard to get out. Be aware of that. Now, as awesome as it is that it worked, I actually still wouldn't really recommend changing this thing. And the reason is, well, I had to clean the living crap out of it to make it work. Just as much as I had to clean the crap out of the old one. In fact, if I had kept cleaning the old one, odds are it would be working just fine. And this wouldn't have been necessary. Maybe the pins were bent down too much. I don't know, but again, you could lift those with the 72-pin lift up trick or whatever. You could make your old one work, is my point. Now, again, for like $4 or $5, that's not a whole lot to ask to repair your NES. But if you have to clean it, then I'm not really sure that's worth the money, since you already have one in there that's probably only dirty to begin with. So let's assume you actually have a cartridge slot that the pins are all bent and you don't want to lift them up, then yeah, this is what you should do. But if yours is just dirty, and odds are like 99% of the time that's going to be the reason, is that it's just too dirty, then you got to clean it out with like a cartridge cleaning kit and some Windex and stuff, and that'll do it. You won't need to do this. So like I said, I really wouldn't recommend this. In fact, if you get yours working again, or you actually replace it, and you want to preserve your system some more for the future, now that we know how bad of a design this thing was, the idea of front load zero force insertion, the way the NES works is you put it in, and the cartridge has to be down in order for the game to run. Now, that's really dumb because it bends the pins. So there is one workaround to that, and it's actually from the Game Genie of all things. If you take your Game Genie and connect a cartridge, thusly, and then pop that in, put it all the way in, as you can see, it doesn't close. I mean, it can't. So they designed the Game Genie to be able to make the game run with only the one line of pins. So if you turn it on, and then, obviously you see the screen there. Skip past that, you get to the game. Now, that's great because, well, the pins are not bending anymore. They can't, from like doing it that way. So I'd highly recommend getting a Game Genie if you have an original NES. That's one reason. Obviously, also codes are awesome, and it also if you have adapters to play Famicom games, it makes it a little bit easier because you'll have more of a way to get the games out if you have the Game Genie. So I highly recommend getting a Game Genie for your NES to help preserve the pin contacts. But back to the original point, 72 pin connections. Don't really change it unless you absolutely have to, because 98% of the time, 99% of the time, cleaning it, that's all you got to do.